hello, everyone. It is the Wild Podcast where we are focusing on your mental health, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And I am your host, Jaquel, and I am going to dive right into what we've been focusing on is with our grief and how it affects our mental health. Just a recap of our first episode, we were just pretty much giving out the basics and information of what grief is, how it affects us, and we focused on depression, anxiety, PTSD, and things of that nature. Today, I really just want to jump right into it and dive into more of understanding of grief, more of how it really affects us, and are we taking those therapeutic measures to see what we can and cannot do, right? To the better well-being of yourself, myself, and those that are around you. So I do just want to kind of just give just a little bit more about myself, and I'll probably do that every episode. Um, so I do have extensive background with mental health. Um, I said in the first episode, I kind of work with the homeless population. I've worked in the medical field for several years. We're not trying to give all of our ages today, but um, I've also worked dively deep when it comes to mental health. So I started in the medical field as a medical assistant, teaching medical assistant courses and so forth. And then when I really started working with the homeless population, I started understanding that there is a higher need that is overlooked. And so I have extensive experience, and even as a mental health crisis instructor, mental health first aid instructor. Also, I am completing, not too far away, my master's of science of clinical mental health counseling. So I'm just not just giving you things off the top. It's really things that are passionate to me, and also with references and education background that also assists. Do I claim to know everything? Absolutely not. But I feel that this is not really spoken of, and this is a huge passion that my husband and I shared. And we always want to speak for those that suffer in silence. And sometimes when you don't know and it's brought to your attention, now we can try to recognize, now we can try to fix what has been broken or things that's been lying dormant. And so when we recognize those things, it now brings a different perspective of how, man, this is why I've been reacting this way. Wow, this is why I've been dealing with things like that. Man, this is why I've been going through and dealing, now people can now understand you better because now we understand why you're being this way. What has triggered you? What is the root of the issue? Because sometimes it'd be surface levels, and all of a sudden you have that person that just, as we say, pop off or snap, and we don't understand why, but there's underlying things that has been happening. And then we just build, like I said, we're constantly putting band-aids on it, we're constantly sweeping things under a rug, and it just grows to a big giant monster. So I want to focus today on understanding a little bit more about grief, right? In our first episode, we were talking about the grief is an emotional, cognitive, physical, and behavioral reaction to the loss of something or someone. And so I like to call it our pillow talk. My husband I was doing a homework assignment, and he was helping with some. He was like, honey, grief is not just a loss of a person. And he said, I think a lot of people get stuck with just that stigma. He said, so many people, they grieve from losing a job. They grieve from losing their home, and these things could be voluntarily or involuntarily. It's taken from you, and not only affects you, it affects those that are around you. I've seen people when they lose their pet, their animal, whether it's emotional support, whether it's a service animal, or it's just your pet, they react differently and they grieve. And a lot of us don't know how we're affected by it, but we're going to talk about that today. And of course, grief of losing someone that you've lost. So let's talk about the employment. So many people, and even right now, there are people that are constantly losing their jobs involuntarily, right? You have been used to a certain set of income, you've been used to certain things that have been set. You've calculated your bills according to what you're bringing in. You walk through the door, and this is a Monday. Now, I've worked in corporate offices, so we know typically A Wednesday and a Friday was when you would kind of see if they were going to lay people off, if they were going to um, remove someone from the company, or if they were just going to flat out fire them for whatever reason. Even if people were going to, quote unquote, retire or quit, or longer want to work with the company, whatever verbiage they try to use, they would normally do it on a Wednesday and Friday, and they would continue to let you work to work out those extended 2 weeks or however you guys had the conversation. But when things are abrupt, right? Let's say that I walked into work on Monday and I find out on Monday that I no longer have a job. I've worked for this company or this organization, whether it's profit or nonprofit. I have worked and I have given them my all. And we're going to say typically for a good about 5 to 10 years. And you walk through the door and they say, "Can we meet with you?" And you're automatically knowing, like, what is going on? And you meet with HR. And HR and your boss or just HR is giving you the information that you are no longer going to be working for the company. How do you feel about that? Or how did you feel? What about some of us that had to make a, as we call, executive decision for the betterment of your well-being or for yourself, that you had to leave your income, leave your job? How did you process that? How did you process understanding that your job is telling you your services are no longer needed? Whether it was your fault or their fault or whatever, we're talking about people that's being laid off. We are talking about people that are being let go. If you look even on the news today, somebody in corporations, certain organizations, whether it's government, doesn't matter. People are being laid off on a continuum. How are you dealing with it? How are you dealing with the fact that I am no longer able to walk back through these doors and they're asking for your ID badge and they're telling you this, they're telling you, well, this is the package that you're going to get and you're going to be able to walk out the door. This, are you even processing that? Or are you still at the fact of the first sentence of we're going to have to let you go? Or if you quit, they're telling you, okay, well, you can pack up today. You don't have to wait till Friday. Your services are no longer needed today. You have family that you're taking care of, you're assisting. If you're a parent, you have minor children. If you're a married couple or if you're taking care of your parents, there is some financial stigma that makes you feel like, okay, how can I still be superman, superwoman, however you wanted to, identify yourself? How can I still be strong right now? I have no income coming in. How can I still deal with this? I have no income coming in. How can I even explain this to my family? How can I explain this to anyone of what I'm dealing with? How do you process that? Many of us, we have this stern face, we have a strong face, and we try to walk into the car, and then when we go to the car and we pull off the lot, we cry. That's one of our signs of emotions. We are still trying to process what happened. And then when you're at home, now you're looking at the paper, and we're going through those stages of grief. The guilt, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, the anger. We're going through of like, some of us even going to depression, especially if we're dealing with multi-million-dollar companies. Especially for those of us that are, it seems like a lot of people that deals with accounting, that are on like senior level positions, where they are highly affected because you're on a whole different pay scale, which now puts you at a different place. How are you grieving and processing that? Have you even accepted what happened? Whether it was their narrative or if it was your truth, have you accepted that? We're going to talk about that in a second. A loss of a home, becoming homeless, does not physically mean that you're living on the street. Does not mean that you're with the tent community. Sometimes being homeless is the fact that Hey, because I lost my job, I am no longer able to take care of this wonderful house, whether you're renting, whether you're buying, however you want to look at it. I have no income to sustain. So now I may have to go live with another relative. Maybe I now have to go live with a friend. Maybe I have to now go live with, my children, this, that, and the third, because you're trying to still process the fact of what's happening. A lot of people love living in their own space. I know I do. I am a person of, I like my own space. I like my own rhythm when I come into my house because my house is my peace. And sometimes when you become homeless, and I'm speaking from experience, you are now technically, right, we're infringing on someone else. How do we deal with that? Now it's like you're almost walking on eggshells, and now you have all of these other emotions that are taking place. Why? Because you're trying to still be human, trying to still figure out what's happening. You're trying to find resources. You're trying to deal with these, but you're still not even processing the fact. And we're talking about um, homelessness, definitely not in your will. It is out of your will. You see a note on the door from the city, from the county, saying that you have to leave because this place is now considered inhabitable, right? Let's go there. What do you do? There are some people, and I've worked with the homeless population, they were not even able to get their items out of the house because it was considered to be condemned. And because they didn't have renters insurance and things of that nature, they were not able to get those items replenished. How do you feel? And if this has not physically happened to you, can we have empathy for others that are going through these phases and these stages? So many of us can relate to what most people that lose a pet, whether it's an emotional support animal or a service animal. We look at the fact of what they lost someone. And to a lot of people that have a pet, they treat that pet as if it's their own child. I mean, like, you even see like different TikToks, different videos of people, the way they bathe, the way they feed. They sit there and have full conversations with their wonderful animal because to them, this is my source of peace. This is my person I communicate with. But then they found out that their pet has cancer, or they found out that this and that is happening to them. They have cataracts. There's so many things that can happen even with our animals, and they're suffering that loss. I worked with an individual where they were off work for like 2 weeks just because they could not mentally get into a healthy space to return to work because of the loss of their pet. And that was an eye opening for me to be very sensitive to someone like that was going through those phases and changes. Just like you're doing something with this person every day, just like they're doing with their pet every day, they're making sure they're fed, they're bathed, they're doing this and that, and all of a sudden, this is not of a norm. And then, of course, we have what? The loss of someone. And when we're dealing with grief, when it's affecting the loss of someone, when it's affecting the loss of others, when it's affecting just you and that person, how am I able to go forward in a healthy stage? I'm not telling you that you can't cry. I implore you to do that. I pull on you to release your emotions. I pull on you to not allow people to sit there and tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that, you cannot cry, you cannot, verbalize. I was in the house the other day and I was texting my best friend. I said, I just want to scream. And she said, scream, get it out. And it had nothing to do with, you know, the loss of my husband. It was just with the other things that I was dealing with. She said, get it out. We are no longer burying our feelings and just compressing them. We have to really extend the the grace. There we go. Thank you. The grace to others that are dealing with the grief in that moment. We have to be able to be sensitive to understand that's really not them. Let me just retract. 3 months ago, situation happened. Ah, people are even grieving when they're in accidents. especially those that lose vehicles, especially those that, you know what I'm saying, I lost the arm, I lost the limb. You know what I'm saying? This accident had put me in a frenzy. My body is not going through the same functions like it used to. And so we as society have put limitations again on how long you can properly grieve. Even jobs will give you what, up to 4 days of bereavement, because we feel that you are capable of returning back to work in a healthy state, physically and mentally. That's not the case. I'm exhaling on that because who gives you the right and the power to tell me how long that I may have to deal with this? Who gives you the right? And I'm saying who, you, as far a general statement, no one particular, but who or what gives you the right to demand that I only can grieve? And now I have to go back into a society place to where things may be triggering. Because I didn't stay off long enough. Now I'm coming back with an attitude. Now they're telling me what? That I'm angry, that I'm not good to work with right now. That there's some issues that's happening, and you're just so negative. You're so uptight. Are you okay? No, I just have to come back to work. Only been off for a week, and thank you for the flowers, but you could have just gave me some extra time off. Thank you for the card. I appreciate it. But mentally, I'm just still processing. And some of us, it takes longer to process what we have lost. It takes longer for some people because we're trying to put everything in a box at one time versus just taking the layers. And so this podcast is going to help you really search within yourself. This is not exploiting anybody. This is not exposing anybody. This is not saying that you're a horrible person. We're saying we want you to live a long time. We're saying that we want you to be here because we need you. We're saying that you are still able to move forward because there is purpose inside of you. Do not allow the circumstance of your loss to detect your future. I do not want you to subdue to substance abuse. I don't want you to subdue to, different things that you're not used to doing, but you're subjecting to it because this is all I have left. There are some people that resort to finding other alternatives because there's no hope. And that's what they feel. They've been rejected by almost every resource that they've tried. They have nothing else that will try to come back and assist them. So what happens? They are now in a place of, I'm forced to do this. I'm forced to do that. And then the substance abuse comes in. Why? Because I need to numb my pain. So my question is, what actions have we taken to deal with or accept the loss? That's those are two different things. You can deal with a loss, but you haven't accepted it. Acceptance helps healthy grieving in all manners. And those are like all the things that we listed above. Healthy grieving, when you accept it, we are now saying what? We are doing this, we are doing that, we are taking a actual stance on how I can move forward properly. A lot of times we say, I'm just dealing with it. Dealing with it is not healthy. Dealing with it, I can give you like, okay, so the analogy would be as though dealing with your circumstance is sitting in a boat and it's just rocking itself. Right? We are in the boat, the waves are moving me along, and I'm just dealing with it. I'm just allowing I'm just allowing it to go its course. But when I accept it, I am actively involving myself. Now I'm taking the paddles and now I am rowing with it. I am taking the good and the bad. I'm taking the bad and the good. I am taking the hurt and the pain. I am rowing myself to my new destination, and I'm actively putting myself into a place that some days I may cry because it's not, this rowing of the boat is difficult because I am doing it by myself physically, right? I can see my therapist, I can go to my pastor, I can go to this, but I still have to do the work. But if I'm dealing with it, I'm just in the boat and it's rocking, it's floating, it's having its course. And what happens? We just start going through the motions. We go back to work. We go through the motions. We just, we're in, as some people say, like they zoned out. They're not in reality no more. We're just dealing with it. Okay. I'm dealing with the process of going through to find me another place to live. But I haven't accepted the fact of what all that happened. Whether I accept it as, this is my fault or this is my being, or accepted the fact that, excuse me, however the situation occurred, I'm accepting it and I'm moving forward. You have to be at a place when you're ready to accept it so you can actively move. You cannot stay. And some people, I appreciate your feedback and I love your comments. I read someone that said that they didn't even realize that they were still in depression. I'm so glad that you were able to watch the podcast because a lot of times, once again, we don't realize where we're in because a lot of times we're just allowing the boat to row for us. We're allowing the waves to carry us versus us actively taking the responsibility to do what we can to move into a better realm, into a better light, and to do whatever we can do. So, what does that sound for us? What does that mean for us? Is that saying that I'm dealing with it does not equate to your acceptance. Saying that you're dealing, oh, yep, don't worry, I'm gonna deal with it. I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with it. I'm gonna handle it. I'm gonna handle it. And you are no more than anyone else who is. It's like you're still at the first stage. We don't want that for you. Dealing with it is saying, I'm here, as we say, I'm here, but I'm not here. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not processing it because I'm still at the point of I don't know what happened. We're still at those the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. We're still at what could I have done? Did I recognize any signs? And this once again, this is for the generalization of just grieving. Have you reached out to any resources? Have you reached out to anyone to assist you? To even as you're dealing, what acceptance are we going to go? Who can we deal with? Who can we talk to? Have you handled the rejection from support? Is a question that I wrote down. And I wanted to ask that, like, everyone that says they're going to help us don't. Let's put it out there. So many people tell us they're going to be there, right? So many people say, I'm going to be here for you. Let me know what you need. And I've talked about that even sometimes when I just post a video. Some people are just not available for us. And then sometimes when we reach out to resources, right, whether it's for unemployment, looking for housing, this and that, sometimes we're rejected. And we're like, huh? What? I meet, in my mind, all the qualifications. Now we're getting frustrated. How am I not getting any assistance for me to go forward? How are you handling that? Have you handled that? Rejection is a harsh thing when you're grieving because now it puts you in a place of what? Isolation. And when it puts you in a place of isolation, what happens? We start doing what? We start self-sabotaging our own selves. Ooh, self-sabotage. is a whole nother character. Self sabotage. You don't even know. Just simple as somebody saying, "Oh my gosh, I like that outfit." Ooh, don't say that. This is so from Target. I got to say Target on sale. That's not what I said. You're sabotaging. You're self sabotaging yourself. Self sabotage. Come on, get it together, Jaquel. You're you're damaging your own self. You're damaging your confidence. Somebody, oh, I like them shoes. Really? These things so old. Stop. You're already forming yourself in isolation. I'll never forget one of our assignments in school. We had to diagnose and observe the um, Winnie the Pooh, all the characters, right? And so when we were going through different ones and it was listing different medical, mental health that they all suffer from. And so I was so eager to look at Eeyore because that's one person as a child growing up Winnie the Pooh. Now I'm giving my age, but watching Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore always, I just felt like he was always depressed. Oh dear. I don't know. Like he never had no confidence. And so as I'm looking through the assignment, I was so gathered to see how Eeyore was labeled as depressed. And it talks about underneath that, and I'm just paraphrasing the synopsis of it, that he was dealing with self-sabotage, he was dealing with rejection, he was dealing with loneliness, underlying bitterness, you know. Um, he suffered the act of loss. And so it affected his confidence and it affected his well being. So even though he's around Winnie the Pooh, who's so happy to be here, now, you know, Tigger, he suffered from ADHD. That's a whole nother, you know what I'm saying? So we were given these scenarios to properly observe, ask the proper questions, go through the flow, and things of that nature. So as we're getting here, I couldn't help but go back to Eeyore and to see, like, wow, what did you lose? What did you suffer from? How come you sabotage yourself on a regular? Even your pose, your posture is negative. And after everyone is hyping them up, you know, as what they say now, is it gas you up? We gassing up? However they say it. I always say hype me up. Don't hype me up. Don't do that. But even in that, he still not could not find the confidence within himself. Even when everyone else is encouraging you, you still have to find the hope within yourself. I'm not saying that y'all out here Eeyores. I'm not saying that y'all Tigger too. I'm not saying that y'all anyone. But it was a great analogy and a comparison to understand how some people are. That Eeyore is in a state of being because he wasn't ready and hasn't been ready to accept what he lost. Sometimes we are at a place and we are at a place that we want to give up, right? We're at a place where we are deciding on, I don't know what to do about tomorrow. I don't know what to do about today. I don't feel like I'm out the bed. I don't want to do anything because I'm just in this funk. And sometimes we're dealing with it, but we're still in that funk stage. So now we're becoming angry, bitter towards others. We're at a place where we're kind of snappy. I like to use the word, you're a little short with individuals. And it's not, you know, it's not the Snickers thing. Are you hungry? Grab a Snickers. No, because you're not you when you're hungry. We get that. But this is more than that. This is a whole nother, I don't know. I gotta figure out how you are today. I gotta figure out how you are tomorrow. I gotta figure out how you are because the way you're doing things is unacceptable. And it's not good for your well being. It's not good for your sanity. It's not good for anything. It's not good for you. It's not good for you physically. It's not good for you mentally. It's not good for you emotionally. When you start cutting down people like a tree, they will leave. And there's that isolation. There's when you're by yourself. And and I'll be honest, for me, it's been loss after loss after loss with me losing someone to the point where I have not been able to go to another funeral because I'm exhausted of funerals. And it hurts because it's just been one thing after the next, right? I physically don't want to be in this space because I'm accepting what I'm dealing with and I need to move forward. So sometimes me staying back is not that I don't love people. It's just that I mentally have to prepare myself to go to the next. And that's okay if you can't physically be there for people because you're trying to take care of yourself. It's okay if you're saying, I know I said that I signed up to help y'all to do X, Y, and Z, but right now I really need to focus on me. And if anyone genuinely do care about you, they will allow you to have that space. And sometimes your response is going to be, okay, let me know if you need anything. And then some people like me will say, hey, what support do you need right now? Let's normalize those things. Let's normalize that verbiage. What support do you need? So that we are helpers one to another. We are building a healthier community. My time is getting away from me and I want to touch on something. So we want to talk about, and I'm going to have to give y'all part two, about the therapeutic measures in our acceptance, right? Our therapeutic measures of what we're doing to better ourselves, right? What are we doing to build upon? What are we doing to make us be in a better space? What are we doing to do what we can and all that we can? It's not something that you just walk in a park today and you're going to be 100% ready tomorrow. That's absolutely a false statement if anyone has ever told you that. Okay. That's medically wise, physically wise, however you want to look at it. But if you are taking it one day at a time, sometimes you have to say, I'm going to take this for the hour, move it up to the 2 hours, and you work your way to a half a day. That is progress because I'm actively forcing myself to do something versus I am just going to deal with it and I'm just going to let the boat sail me wherever it needs to go. Because sometimes, and I want to touch on this on the next episode, part two, you got to come back, is when you allow things to deal with it, you're allowing yourself to float into areas of damage, areas of other things that you are sinking into. And we want to avoid those things. So, as I get ready to close, because this is good, this is good content, this is good. I definitely want to hear your feedbacks on everything. Most importantly, I'm always going to tell you, you are loved. I love you. God loves you. You are needed. Don't ever let nobody else tell you that. You are so important. We need you because when you accomplish what you need to do, you can pass the baton to the next person. You are important to even your inner circle, those that are around you, and those that are looking for you in that positive way. Most importantly, you will not kill yourself. Most importantly, you will not give up. Most importantly, you will win. There is only one you, and that's why I need you. That's why you need me. So, as I get ready to close, I just want to give a few shout outs. Big shout out to Tone from TDR Podcast and Network, who's my producer, who does an amazing job every single time. Big shout out to everyone that constantly is watching these episodes. I love you and I really appreciate you. Most importantly, to my family, close friends, you know who you are because I don't want to say somebody's name and somebody else get forgot. I love you all and I thank you for your continued prayers and support. And I just believe that you can make it. And remember, I can do all things. Thanks for watching. Till next time. And we are focusing on always health, body, mind, and spirit. Specifically for this podcast, we are now gravitating towards a more sensitive topic. We work out physically all the time. We talk about spiritual, our well being in God. And then also now we're going to touch on a very more sensitive subject, which is mental health, specifically grieving and how that affects your mental health. So, walk this journey with me, walk on this process with me so that we're able to understand how we are able to function, understanding the different types of grieving, understanding where we are, understanding that it's okay to be feeling and validate your feelings. But most importantly, let's find resolutions. Let's find support that is needed. I am a strong person that will advocate, empower, but most importantly, educate you at all costs so that you're not all the ways out here in the slumps. You're not out here by yourself because you're not fighting this battle by yourself. All right? So let's just jump right into it. We're going to focus on grieving and this grieving journey that we're all facing. What is the most important things about grieving? Grieving is a universal experience. So at some point in our lives, we may not look the same, we may have different ages, different diverse backgrounds, but grieving does not say because you are African American, I'm only going to target you. Because you are of a Hispanic background, I'm only going to target you. Grieving says this is universal. Any and everyone can get it. It does not discriminate even with ages. That's why children are affected with this as well. So, as we begin to understand about grieving, there is another component that comes with that, which is your mental and your well being. You always hear people bring up situations like people don't grieve healthy. Uh, they tend to go into different tunnels, as we refer to that way. And then when it comes to that, now we're stuck in a hole of trying to have them gravitate to getting out of this long tunnel that they've been in. So how do we do that? There's a connection with grief and mental health. There's disorders, right? Some of us go through what's called depression. Some go through anxiety. Some go through what's called PTSD, right? Um, Many go through various stages, and it causes them to feel like they're isolated, that they're alone, and that there's nothing else that will benefit them because no one understands. This podcast is to allow you to open up and realize that you're not fighting this by yourself. I'll say that once again. I think sometimes as a culture, we need to understand that we're not limited to resources. There's so many resources out there. There is so much support that we can give. All right. So I just want to touch on a few things here so you can understand more about me, and as we take this grieving journey process together, there will be so many more things that will unfold. You might see me cry sometimes. I got some tissue here. You might, and as I bring on guests, you might even hear them share their stories. This space here is safe. You are safe, and I am safe. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to get through so many obstacles ahead. If you understand that even the surrounding areas, you have to feel safe. So, a few things that I would just want to touch on is what is grief, right? Grief is an emotional, cognitive, physical, and behavioral reactions to the loss of someone or something. So it doesn't just affect human, it's also when people lose their animals. We go through this emotional, cognitive, physical, behavioral experience. The problem that most people feel is that it's just limited to death. It's not just limited to death. It's also limited to relationships, loss of jobs, your health, your identity. So many factors can put you in this state of mind, this state of being. And there are so many different stages of grief that I just want to kind of touch bases on so you can kind of understand why we are focusing on your mental health, your well being, so that you can be better. The stages of grief, there's denial, there's anger, there's bargaining, there's depression, and then there's acceptance. Where do you find yourself? I'm going to pause right there. Sometimes you're going to be experiencing more than one at one time. Sometimes you can be dealing with this in a situation, and I want to be very transparent as we're talking about this right now. For many that don't know, I recently lost my husband. October 21st, 2024 would never be the same for me and our child. My husband was not only shot, but he was shot and killed. I immediately went through shock, a denial, thinking that he's going to answer the phone. I immediately went through, okay, when he get off work, he's going to come home tonight. This is the usual standard, our usual routine, things of that nature. I went through anger and frustration because I kept saying that night, honey, just come straight home. Oh, I got to go make a few runs. I'll be home later on tonight. And him and our son had a play date that, they have Legos. So he had these Legos and he was getting ready to go set them up in a room, and they had FaceTime and all of that good stuff. And I was so frustrated because I felt like almost as if you're bargaining. That's the next one, that the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. What if I have all this guilt because maybe I didn't do this enough, or maybe I didn't do that enough, or did I tell him I love him enough on the last time we saw each other? We saw each other on 10/20. Did I tell him enough? Right? There's a guilt piece that goes with that. There's depression. There's a deepness, there's a sadness, there's the withdrawal of wanting to be around people and want to be lonesome by yourself. I didn't want to get up out the bed. There's so many days I did not want to get up. There's so many days. And even when they try to trigger now, I still find myself having to fight that because it will sweep and slide through, and you're not even paying attention. Next minute, you go through this lonely walk and you're feeling isolated. The acceptance. Not too long ago, maybe about a few weeks ago, I just really had to accept, like, okay, he's not coming back. He's not going to answer the phone. He's not going to respond to the text messages. There's no point of me taking our son, for their routine, visiting him at work, or him, slipping in or coming home at a certain time to help and grab dinner before he go back or doing. I had to accept in the reality that he's not coming back. And it put me in a place of even accepting, and it almost went like put me back in a stage of losing my father all over again, because my father to me was like my best friend, my husband, my best friend. And all those triggers, all of those reactions, all of those moments put me in a state of, Jaquel, what are we going to do? How are you going to overcome this? How are you going to do this? How are you going to face every day? How are you going to face the time? You call the detectives, they don't call you back. You're looking for support. What actual support do you need? You're feeling guilty because in your mind, like, why did this have to happen to me? Did I say I love you enough? We had no ill, bitter feelings towards each other, never a separation, never nothing of that, no negativity. When my husband stepped through the door, was nothing but peace in that house. But to lose someone abruptly, it hits different. To lose someone, some people lose their loved ones or friends, families, or different ones from cancer, from car accidents, from various things that we're not even knowledge of. Someone go to the hospital, but they never come back out. And it leaves us with a lot of unanswered questions. So we ask ourselves a lot of these things and we go through these processes like, how do I get out of this? How do I know that this is not my fault? Because mind games happen with grief. You put yourself in a place, and then, like I said, when the guilt comes, now the mind start playing tricks on you. You start wondering why. Why did this have to happen to me? Our child is 4 years old, and even up to today, every day he asks about his father. Every day, because they had a routine every day. Every day, every morning, my son still gets up and sings his song to his father. And he stands there in the mirror playing as if he's reciprocating the song that my husband used to sing to him. You Are My Sunshine is what he sung to our son. And my son had a made up song, I Love You, Daddy. Hey, it worked for them, right? Throughout the day. And sometimes he'll say, like, man, I miss Daddy. I want to talk to him. Or, Mom, we can't call him. Can I? He'll ask me for my phone because he want to look at some of those pictures that they had. Every moment was precious to our son to spend quality time with his father and his mother. And what does grieving look like for our youth that are that young? As a parent, I have to separate myself like I can empathize and sympathize because I lost my father as a child. My father did not pass away the same way though. So I know that there's going to be more questions as he get of age that he will probably want to understand why did someone take his father's life. So that's a little bit more about me. But I wanted to let you know how transparent and how open I'm going to be in these sessions. So, another thing that I just want to bring up is about the importance of mental health. When you have grief, depression is one of the most ones that come up first, right? And it is a strong mental health, it's a deep sadness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, loss of daily routines. Um, Sometimes you don't even have appetite because your mind is like, where do I go? What do I do? And we're still in that I'm trying to overcome, but you know what? I don't feel like getting out the bed today. You lose a lot of energy because what's surrounding around you is the loneliness. What's surrounding around you is the emptiness. What's surrounding around you is you feel like you're getting closed in. You feel like there's no other support. You're feeling like the person that you love the most walked out the door and there was never a return. And depression will allow you to sit there and it'll just sit there and sit there. And it also becomes like a physical weight of, you never had those really good heavy blankets when you put it on you. And I think they even have like some weighted blankets, like they're really called weighted blankets. And those weighted blankets come and it helps you go to sleep. It snuggles you. But when depression comes, it sits there and it's heavy. And when it sit there, it's not only affecting you, but now those that are around you. It affects your job. So because of what you're dealing with, you're not able to function at work, not to the full capacity that you actually could before or prior to the incident. When you were at home, you was always chippery, you're always laughing, you're always smiling. All of those behaviorals and those mannerisms start shifting and changing. And to some people, depression can affect them to the point where they don't get out the bed, they don't take care of their hygiene, they don't do anything because they're in this desolate state. We want to help you. We want to help you get to a point to where you can recognize, and even if you can't recognize it at first, those that are your support system, those are people that you can possibly call, family, close friends, and we'll even post phone numbers of supportive groups, hotlines to help you, because depression is a slithering snake, I like to identify it as, that is trying to coil its way around you and suffocate you so that you cannot do what you need to do. You can't push forward because it's slowly surrounding itself around you until it gets all the way to the point where you can't breathe. Anxiety is another one. Anxiety now brings the fear and worry, right? Anxiety tried to affect me and everyone that was around me. Where you going? Where you going? How you going to get there? How you going to get there? Because immediately I started feeling the fear of, because my husband was, doing what he was doing, going, taking care of business. And next minute, my husband shot and killed. Oh Lord, this can happen to my son. Oh Lord, this can happen to my sister. Oh Lord, this. I wanted to know where everybody was going, and that can be overwhelming. How is that overwhelming? Because you don't sleep. You're on paranoia. You're at a point of thinking that every time you turn around, something bad is going to happen. Depression and anxiety can be best of friends too, if we really want to call a thing a thing. If I really be, and I want to be very respectful when I say this, because I don't want people to interpret it the wrong way, but I have to say it this way. Yes, Jaquel go to church, but I didn't want to pray to God. I didn't want to talk to God because I was in my feelings about all the things that were happening to me. Everybody said, well, go pray about it. Go sit down. God gonna take care of it. I'm upset right now. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to talk to Jesus, tell him all about your problems. I didn't want to hear those songs at that time because I was trying to understand from God, why is he no longer here? I only had 6 years with this man, God. Why did you take him from me? I was upset. And people say, you can't be angry, God. Since y'all want to pull on the word, he said, be angry, but sin not. So I had some questions. And I wanted to talk to God about these things on a real level. Not thou was been this. No, no, no. Lord, I need some clarity. I need some things because your girl is feeling this way. Your girl is upset. Your girl is mad. And when you lose someone, you start seeing people for who they really are. Your support system that was like this is shrinking to where now you are able to count the numbers on one hand, who really has your back, who really is supporting you and your lineage that you have created, who is really going to be there for you. It's uncomfortable. I was not only in a place of when I got myself together and I was like, okay, God, we need to have these conversations. I also sought a therapist. Every person needs somebody to really give it all to, right? But I needed someone who is sound wise, who has not only the credentials, because see, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your family, but something about a therapist, a counselor, they're going to go above of the surface level and we're going to get to some deep rooted things. And I was able to not only talk to God, but let me talk to a therapist. I've learned that is an issue, especially with people of color, our culture. We just want to just Jesus, 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 Jesus all day. That's fine. But who else are you going to deal with outside of when you leave the altar? Because you can't stay at church all night. You can't call your pastor every single day. Yes, I pray to God for myself, but also who else is that person that's going to give me some strategies, some tools that I can go back to and take home and go and work on some other things outside of my prayer, outside of me reading the scripture? Then once again, I'm saying this respectfully because there's nothing wrong with people doing what? Going to God in prayer. I concur that. But we got to stop the go to God in prayer and what goes in my house stays in my house. Go to God in prayer and you can't cry. You shouldn't be crying. You shouldn't be shedding a tear. You got to be strong. Man up. And our black men are dying. We can't keep telling people what we think they should do based on what society has taught us, our culture has showed us, because that mental health is affected. We need to verbalize what we're dealing, what we're facing, how we're doing it in that moment so that we can get the proper help. Everything may not need medication. Sometimes it just needs a conversation. So, in your state of grieving, in your state of understanding and acknowledging the various disorders that are affected by it, we are at a place to say, you know what? Today, in this moment right now, I'm sad. I was having some thoughts. I was thinking about, the person that I love, and tears just began to fall down my face. I validate those feelings. Talk more about that. Get that off of you. Do we not know because of grief and various different mental health that we're facing, it causes more health problems? It causes more. So many people have hypertension because I'm going to keep this all inside. So many of us suffer and we bring on more health elements, that brings on diabetes. That brings on, as I said before, hypertension, high blood pressure, as we call it. It also brings on other forms of mental health because we feel like I can't verbalize what I really need to do. Some of us, we will overeat or we will not eat at all. Those are disorders as well. When we're talking about grief in these episodes and the future to come, we want you to understand I am a strong advocate of normalize Jesus in therapy. Normalize that it's okay for a grown man to say, I'm not feeling good today. And for him to take off his coat and be in a safe environment of even those around him. And he should not be penalized for saying that he's not happy today. I'm a strong advocate for a woman to say, listen, I am dealing with so many emotions right now. Because if we think about it, a lot of times people are saying it, but we're just not listening. So, a few things that I just want to touch base on actually, just focusing on some coping strategies, some things that we can do. And as we begin to really dive deep more and more, I want us to just have real conversations in our household, real conversations with each person. So we talk about how do you cope with death? How do we get over? You don't get over it. You have to process and we have to move forward, but you're never going to forget about the person that was in your life. You're never going to forget about that person that made a strong impact. When my father passed, I went through like I felt like an owl by myself. But when I saw how strong my mother was and how she was able to still persevere through with four children, my mother was a person that I saw that normalized Jesus and therapy. She put all of us in therapy. She allowed us to even have moments in the house where we weren't feeling the best, we weren't doing good, and we were able to vocalize those feelings to our mom. She didn't judge us, she didn't bash us. She wanted us to not have all of these problems because my mother worked in the healthcare field for years, so she understood and she saw how many people were affected by those things. And I appreciate my mom even to this day because that was one of the first things my mom said. It's going to be a journey, daughter, but you can do this. Because my mother was young. She was in her 30s and she had to raise four children by herself. And then what happened? The support system started to come. Did my mother have, we've heard my mother cry at nights by herself. She probably thought we wouldn't listen, but we heard her. But a scripture that my mother would say, and I take it to this day, she will always have us quote, well, probably just me because I was that kind of child, was Philippians 4 and 13. Because I would always run to my mother and I would tell her how hurt I was. And I told her I was angry with God when he took my father. And I would tell her, I said, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do that. I can't do this. I can't. My mother hate the word I can't. And she was like, Jaquel, the Bible says I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And I'll be looking at her like, don't nobody want to hear that right now? I'm venting. I'm upset. I'm mad. I want to cry. And she'll let you get all out. And then she'll say, but you can't say you can't. You can do this. You can do this. And she will say, it's impossible for you to do it by yourself. But with God's help, Jaquel, it's possible. When you go to your therapist, when you see Miss Seamson, because I'll tell y'all later about Miss Seamson, I love that lady. You talk to her about that and watch how she help you. You're not in this by yourself. And that's something that I want to tell you guys. You're not in this journey by yourself, even though it may seem like that. You're not in this battle by yourself. You're not facing this grieving journey by yourself. You are able to make it. And every day when you wake up, it's that unction of the fight still. Why? Because I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Your coping and your healing strategies. Once you recognize the grieving steps that you've dealt with, and you recognize that I am a strong person of therapy, journaling, music. Um, some people believe in having physical, so they go to the gym. That's their outlet. Self care. There is nothing wrong with getting you a nice, good massage to releasing all of that tension out of your body. And sometimes you have to work yourself up to go there more than um, once. You know, some people do it once a month. Some people got to go once a week because they're so tense. It's okay. Therapy, there's so many forms of therapy, not just going to see a therapist, but as I stated, music. There's different ways of getting that energy and your frustration. Maybe you're sad today, so now you just want to write a poem. I wrote so many poems young once my father passed because I was just that was a way of me getting my feelings out. That was such a way for me to get it. Writing, singing. My family probably can tell you I was getting on everybody's nerves in the house because almost every day I had a song to sing because that was a connection of my father and I. He was a songwriter, he was an artist, and I was getting on everybody's nerves because I wanted to sing every day. But that was how I was trying to release my feelings in that moment. Sometimes you may be sitting in a car and you probably don't even want to listen to the normal genre of music. Maybe you want to turn on some classical. Maybe you want to turn on some smooth jazz, something out of the norm so that you can just release yourself. Um, Getting some roles of support also will help you with your strategies and your healing and coping. Contacting family, contacting your friends, okay? Getting a community of supporting groups. As you see your physician, let them know like, is there any grieving supporting groups, anything for families? Is there anything that we can do that's going to help me better myself? What can I do? Right? Because now I'm verbalizing, I need help. I notice that you're not a bad person for saying I need help, right? Things have to be verbalized in order for you to receive or reciprocate what you're asking for. So anytime someone says, I need support in this, I said, well, what does the support look like that you need? Outside of this, I work with people in the homeless population. So a lot of them need to be housed. But what type of support do you need for that housing? What is it that you actually need in that moment? Sometimes I have to call people and say, you know what, I just need about an hour. Can you just come get my child? And it's not that he's being mischievous or anything. It's just that I just want to have some me time. Let me just decompress. And I might just want to drive to the lake and just watch the waves go by. And I don't want to be interrupted as a parent to understand, like, hey, mom. Just right now, I just want to be silent. I want to hear the waves. I want to hear the birds. I want to just be in a different environment to where I can just let it all out of my body. Most importantly, seeking professional help is needed. Seeking professional help. When I say normalize Jesus in therapy, I'm not condemning nobody for going to their pastors, for asking for help, for prayer, for any of that. That is nothing wrong. We have not because we ask not. But also seeking professional help for someone else that deals with this on a day-to-day basis. They are understanding, they're knowledgeable, they have degrees in this. We're constantly doing research to better the better community, to better our clients and our, and so forth, our patients. Seeking that professional help. And sometimes you may not have that right therapist, the first one that fits you. That's okay. I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. Maybe I need someone specific that deals with grieving for X, Y, and Z. Maybe I need something specific for my family. It may not work with the first therapist. It may not work with the first counselor. It may not work with the first psychotherapist. It may not work with the first psychiatrist. But I guarantee you, seeking support groups, seeking those helps in that area is going to give you so much relief. It's going to help you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I want to close with just something real quick. My husband and I were strong advocates for those that suffer from mental health. We always call ourselves, we speak for those that suffer in silence. And so that's why I've always been a strong person to advocate, educate, and empower. Because a lot of us don't know or understand. Grief is hard, but healing is possible. It's all about what you want to do. And I need you to know that even though you're going through this grieving journey, we need you. There is purpose still inside of you. Yes, the other person may no longer be here. Yes, I may have lost my job. Yes, I feel like when this person left, every single thing has been going around me, has been surrounding me, and I feel like I'm suffocating. I've been there. You feel like giving up. You feel like you want to let go. You feel like that there is no support. There is no hope. I don't want to bother this person. I don't want to bother that person because I feel like I'm bothering everyone. But I guarantee you, their support, you're needed, you're wanted. There's a whole line of people waiting for you to do what you need to do so now you can pass the baton to them. But I can't let you stay in this shape that you're in. I can't let you stay in this rut. And my husband and I were strong advocates when it came to our youth. He was a senior manager at a all boys group home because he loved working with the youth. Yes, we did so many things with them, and it was just a joy to see them feel real love. In grief, sometimes you just need to know that someone loves you. Someone really do care about you. Yes, you're dealing with this, but you are loved. So I'm not gonna cry, but I feel like my tears coming down. Every day is a journey. Every day, you have to fight with yourself to get out of the bed. Every day, you have to put your feet on the ground to let the enemy know that you're still here. Every day, you have to go forward, even if it's just you making a step to get up and sitting up and looking at the floor. You did that, and you did it with courage. We're no longer going to hold guilt over ourselves of things that we cannot control. No longer will we sit here and be the baggage and the burden and feeling like it's a burden. No longer would you be drowning in sadness of sorrows when you have an opportunity to have joy. Most importantly, you will not kill yourself physically, mentally, emotionally anymore. You will not hold on to any of this weight. You are special, not only to me, but most importantly to God. And He loves you that much that He wants to remind you that you are special to Him. So today, we're going to hold our head up. We're going to let it all out. And we're going to take this one day at a time. So I look forward to seeing you on our next one. Join us next time as we're going to focus on different steps to help us process with this grieving. We're going to later have guests that's going to be transparent with their stories. We're going to bring on physicians. We're also going to bring on pastors. Why? We want to talk to pastors like, okay, so what happens after we tell the congregation to do X, Y, and Z? What are steps? What are we hoping? Are we transparent as leaderships to let them see what you went through? To the physicians, why do we always jump on jump to have our people have medication? Could there be some things of just a conversation? Or do you medically see that, oh, they got to have medication right away? And most importantly, what can we do to start with our next generation? Those that are suffering in silence and don't know how to formulate those words. So as we get ready to leave, remember, I can do all things. Thanks for joining us.